Jesus' heart was full of love and kindness. So I feel like when I hear that, that should be in all of our hearts.
Unconditional love. It means like love with no boundaries. It means that he just has an abundance of love for us.
That means taking care of each other, taking care of everybody.
It's what Jesus did for me and everybody. His death on the cross and his resurrection, so that we can be saved and have an eternal life with him.
When I hear Heart of Jesus, I hear hopefulness. Jesus lives in all of us. We walk with him each and every day, carrying the cross on our back. And even when we're in tough situations or we're having tough days, there's always going to be good coming out of it.
The heart of Jesus to me is something that everyone feels whenever you are in a sense of respect, brotherhood, love, community, charity. Anytime you're practicing any of those elements or characteristics, the heart of Jesus is within you.
That he's always with us and he upholds us and surrounds us, and I'm grateful to him for his love.
On June 1st, we're having a special Mass that will be celebrated by Bishop Konderla. It's a Mass of remembrance for all of our St. Francis employees that have died in the past year. And at the end of that Mass, the Bishop will be consecrating St. Francis Health System to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Consecrated is a word that really means set apart. So when we talk about consecrating the St. Francis Health System to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, it's really an act of faith on behalf of the health system to place ourselves in a particular way, in a devotional way, under the umbrella of the love of Christ, the love of God that is symbolized by the heart of Jesus. The Sacred Heart of Jesus, in its essence, we're talking about the heart of Christ, the human heart of Christ. So the Sacred Heart, when we talk about it properly, is the heart of Jesus Christ. And the Sacred Heart is an image of the divine and human love of Jesus. When consecrating the health system to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, we are asking the Lord work his love through us. We're asking the Lord to make everything that we do within this health system, all of our past, all of our present, all of our future, to be under the guidance of his divine love. We're asking him to watch over and protect us with his divine love, to help us manifest his love to all of those that we serve. If you look at the word root for heart in Latin, it's cor. You'll see this kind of Latin word root come through in many different words that we commonly use in English. For example, the word cure and the word care both come from the same Latin word, which is cura. Cura is a word in Latin that means troubles, a care, a concern. And for Christians, when this word was being used, it always designated not only the care of the physical ailment of a person, but it also designated the spiritual care of the person that they might need. There was always a sort of unity of care of the person in their bodily and their spiritual reality. And that word, cura, comes from two other words, cor urat. And cor means heart, and urat means burning, or that which burns. So it's this idea of this inflamed, burning love of Christ that is showing itself in how we care for people and in the efforts that we make to bring about healing for them. There are several elements, kind of key elements of an image of the Sacred Heart. You'll always see flames coming out of the heart. You'll see a cross, almost as if it's kind of planted within the heart itself. You'll see the wound that designates where the soldiers, the centurion's spear, pierced the heart of Christ on the cross. And you'll see the heart encircled with the crown of thorns. We see this image of God's love, which is also an image of the suffering that he endured. So this crown of thorns that he wore on the head, but which also pierces his heart, the sins and the suffering of mankind, which pained the heart of Jesus. It's an image where we see this wound in the heart of Christ. Interestingly, even after the resurrection, part of how Christ manifests the reality that it is he, in fact, who has been raised from the dead, is that he shows them his wounds. And so we see that healing brought about by Christ, this new life, this resurrection of Christ, does not mean that we must forget everything that that's happened to us or painful things that we've gone through, it doesn't mean that, at least this side of heaven, all of our wounds disappear. But it means that the Lord gives us strength to stand in those wounds. That image of the cross being planted in the heart, almost as if the love of Christ is what gives meaning to the suffering of Christ. And that just as blessings flowed from the cross that Christ died on for us, the Lord continually brings forth blessings from us, even as we suffer. It's this idea of love, of new life, of resurrection, of continued fruitfulness that the Lord is bringing about in the midst of the wounds that still seem so visible and so painful to us. Consecrating the health system to the Sacred Heart of Jesus makes perfect sense for us. Every day, we're encountering people in their woundedness and inviting the Lord, working to bring the Lord's love and healing into that situation of woundedness. But as a particular way to remember the events of June 1st, as an acknowledgement of the tragedy and the unique suffering that brought, there is a special reason, for us to do it this year, to really consecrate the health system to the Sacred Heart, begging the Lord to bring his healing into our woundedness.